Good afternoon. Welcome to the celebration of the life of Nancy Jean May. Thank you so much for gathering together to remember and celebrate Nancy's life. I'm the Reverend Mary Geer, minister for the Olympia Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I'm joined today by Troy Fisher, OUUC's music director. Thank you to Teresa Madsen and Kido Bay at the tech table. And many thanks to all the many hands who made this sacred space happen today. We are streaming and recording the service. We are grateful for the gift of your presence in whatever way you have decided to be here. It matters that you are here. May this be a time and a place for each one of us to experience the spirit of love and healing. We gather today to grieve the loss of Nancy Jean May, mother, grandmother, friend, sponsor, spiritual seeker, and so many other relationships that Nancy cherished and nourished. Nancy was a member of this congregation and a much-loved presence in our online community. It is natural to feel sorrow and sadness when we lose someone we love. Today, let's make space and time to acknowledge our feelings of sadness together. Every one of us here is acquainted with the grief that loss brings, and so we feel compassion for each other, united in our humanity. May this serve as a time for us to revisit our grief from other losses in our lives, and let this be a time to reflect on a deeper meaning and purpose in our own lives. Together, we face the joy and the pain of being human. Today, while we grieve that Nancy has died, we also honor that she lived. Nancy was a steadfast and true friend, a spiritual seeker committed to her growth and sobriety, a loving mother and grandmother. Today, we especially hold Nancy's family in love and care. It is the practice of this congregation to light a chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist tradition. May the cup be a symbol of our community of love, and the flame a symbol of the life that is in each of us and lives on. We light our chalice with words that Nancy selected from Ganja White. What if our religion was each other? If our practice was our life? If prayer our words? What if the temple was the earth? If forests were our church? If holy water, the rivers, lakes, and ocean? What if meditation was our relationships? If the teacher was life? If wisdom was self-knowledge? If love was the center of our being? One of Nancy's hobbies was genealogy, and she asked that we name her maternal lineage as part of her service. She said she wanted to honor all the women who left their DNA in me and passed down their wisdom to their daughters, how to survive and even thrive as a woman in this world. And so we call on these ancestors as we gather today to honor the life of Nancy Jean, daughter of Ruby Irene, granddaughter of Nancy Cordelia, great-granddaughter of Ladora, great-great-granddaughter of Elizabeth Caroline, great-great-great-granddaughter of Sarah, great-great-great-great-granddaughter of Amy. Thank you for the life of Nancy Jean. Nancy May was a seeker all of her life. Nancy Jean Jacobson was born on August 27, 1937 in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, an only child born to working-class parents. Nancy's father, John, worked in a sawmill, and her mother, Ruby, edited advertisements for the local newspaper. Nancy described her hometown as small and biased, but she sought connection to something larger. Nancy was born and raised Catholic, and she told me that when she was young, she told her mother that she wanted to be a nun. And Nancy's mom said that Nancy had to graduate from high school first before she made that decision. And by the time Nancy arrived at that milestone, she was on her way to being a wife and mother. Nancy loved and cherished her family. She was a mother to 4 children, Mark, Julie, Greg, and Sherry. And she knew the grief of a parent who loses a child when Julie died of pneumonia at 5 months of age. Nancy was the proud grandmother to siblings Rose and Carson. She took a great interest in genealogy and traced certain lines of her family's history as far back as the 1200s, visiting libraries, graveyards, and numerous historical sites across the U.S. and abroad. Nancy was a seeker in many ways. During her life, she lived in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, Sitka, Alaska, Renton, Washington, Bozeman, Montana, Spokane, Washington, St. Marie, Idaho, in a teepee and in a trailer on a mountaintop, Marana, Arizona, in a 12-foot-long trailer, Silver City, New Mexico, Las Cruces, New Mexico, Puerto Morelos, Quinta Roo, Mexico, and Olympia, Washington. She traveled to Mexico, Hawaii, France, and through parts of Eastern Europe and on road trips across many parts of the United States. Nancy had a great love of wild places and of nature. She loved the bears, the hummingbirds, the frogs, the forests, and the ocean, the flowers. She did her best to make a shallow footprint and leave where she had been better than when she found it. Nancy's work life also varied, with a consistent thread that she took care of others. She worked for Northwest Bell Telephone for 15 years in the business office and in the marketing department. She opened her own store in Coeur d'Alene with 3 small shops: Nancy May's 12-step shop, the 4 Directions, and the Sleeping Goddess. Nancy returned to school in the early 1980s to become an LPN and worked in nursing homes, a psych hospital, and in substance abuse treatment center. It was in the treatment center that solidified Nancy's commitment to helping those who struggle with homelessness and addiction. Nancy cared for her husband's disabled brother, then stopped working to care for her mother full-time. Later, Nancy cared for her second husband, Jim May, as he declined with Parkinson's. Nancy was committed to her own recovery and supported the recovery of many others in Alcoholics Anonymous and Overeaters Anonymous. Nancy told me that her father's death catapulted her into recovery. He died in April 1980, and she was sober by June of that year. Nancy's beloved Jim joined her in recovery 2 years later. And as Nancy put it, we drank together for 16 years, and we were sober together for 29. Nancy and Jim helped found Seniors in Sobriety, creating a supportive community for themselves and others. And Nancy attended AA meetings until the end, doing her best to live one day at a time and to be true to herself. When I asked her what lessons she would want to pass on, she said, "You gotta forgive, and you gotta do all the recovery work." Nancy said that she knew when she was young that spirituality was so much more than she had been taught, and that it took leaving the Catholic Church to learn that a person could have a direct experience of the holy. She had a deep devotion to Mother God. She did what she could for those less advantaged and joined in the peace and justice movement. She followed a path of feminist theology and women's spirituality throughout her life. And Nancy experienced, learned, and practiced spirituality from many traditions and paths, including meditation, fire walking, sweat lodges, and centering prayer. Nancy continued to be inspired by progressive Catholic teachers and found comfort in women's groups for contemplative practice. Nancy joined this congregation in November 2019 and remained a dedicated member of our online community until her death. I was honored to visit Nancy several times for deep spiritual conversations. She so wanted to maintain her connection to the divine as she wrestled with the uncertainty of what happens when we die. She knew that she was more than she appeared and would take the next step on her path with as much courage as she could. Nancy suffered with chronic illness and cancer for several years, cared for at home by her son Mark, lovingly cared for by Mark with the help of her daughter Sherry. Nancy died at home on August 7th, 2023, at the age of 85, surrounded by her children and a few of us who loved her. One of Nancy's beloved spiritual teachers was Hassa Onananga, who Nancy described as a medicine seeker. Hassa wrote a song for Nancy when her mother died, and Hassa recorded this song for Nancy, which will play now to honor Nancy and her journey.
Your way, and that circle's there inside you, now forever and a day. Go searching for your mountain, climbing way up high, where you'll find your darkest valley, when you touch the sky, and the wild eagle will be calling when the sunlight slowly falls, and you reach out for the spirit, and your woman knows it all. Woman, seek in your circle. Woman, knowing your way. Woman, that circle's inside you, now forever and a day. You have followed the way of freedom, learning the simple way of the one. The mother raises the child, now the mother led by the son, reaching for that promise where the mountain brooks are a stream, flowing down into your valley, reaching out for a dream. Woman, seeking your circle. Woman, seeking your way. Woman, the circle you're seeking is there inside you, now forever and a day. Now, woman, when you find your circle, you don't have to wait. There's so many sisters standing out by the gate, waiting for that circle their hearts seek to find. You show them from your heart the way through the mind. Woman, go and find your circle. Woman, lead the way. Show them that that circle is there inside them, now forever and a day. That circle's inside them, now forever and a day.
Nancy, our mother, my mother, asked us to share these words to live by that she had written down. My legacy, some of the wisdom I have gained over the years. Focus on my own faults, not on those of others. Be patient with myself and others. Don't take everything personally. People are usually not doing something to me. They are just doing it. Instead of being judgmental of others because of this or that, see how what they are saying, thinking, or doing is making them miserable, and send warm, healing thoughts to them. They are teaching me how not to be. Forgiveness, especially of oneself, is paramount. Holding on to resentment is too heavy a burden to carry.
Love and accept myself, warts and all. All my feelings are to be welcomed and honored, sorrow and grief, as well as joy and happiness. I can only start from where I am. We can change with the support of others. It's not wise to always insist on going it alone. Isolation and separation of myself from others only causes me feelings of loneliness.
Being generous fills my soul. Take time to nurture my soul with spiritual reading and meditation. I need my cup filled before I can fill anyone else's. Each day is precious, even when not getting what I want or getting what I don't want, like sickness or loss. Life is truly fleeting. Go for the pearl of great price. All else is truly a terrible waste of one's time and energy. The pearl is within, and all external searching is useless. I need to be true to myself. My silence when something is not to my or others' best interest makes me complicit in whatever is going on. I need to be courageous and speak up, say the truth out loud to those affected.
Words to live by.
Those are my mother's legacy.
So I miss you, darling Nancy. These are the promises from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we're halfway through. We're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations that used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them. From Alcoholics Anonymous, page 83 and 84.
There are many stories and memories of Nancy here with us today. We'll make time to hear some of them now. For those online, I invite anyone who wishes to share a quality or brief memory about Nancy. You can write that in the chat, which we'll share with Nancy's family. We also invite those online to participate in a ritual that Nancy's family is planning in August to remember her on the one-year anniversary of her death. On site here, there are small wooden hearts to write a word that you associate with Nancy. So if you're online and if you'd like, put your word in the chat and we'll share it with Nancy's family so they can put your word on a heart and use it in the ritual. For those here in person, you will find the wooden hearts in the commons during the reception. And for now, if you have a story that must be told, I invite you to come forward to tell it now into the microphone so the folks online can hear you. And there will be time for sharing also after the service. If there are any members of the community who would like to share, I invite you up now.
Never stood up here before. I've known Nancy about 20 years, and our relationship changed throughout those 20 years, as most relationships do. But the one story I want to tell is in 2019, I started coming here, and I came to 2 services and realized this was where I belonged. And I signed up for a membership class after my second service. And I called Nancy to tell her my big news, and we talked almost once a week, maybe, we talked a lot. And she said, oh, I've been going to OUUC as well, and I've signed up for membership class. And it was just so serendipitous. It still makes me happy that we both landed here together. Yeah, that's my story.
Hi, everyone. My name is Linda Coleman, and I'm an alcoholic, and I was Nancy's sponsor for about 12 years, at least 12 years. And my story has to do with me coming over to her home every Tuesday. And Mark will remember this. When I came over, he'd fix us lunch, which was always wonderful, and then we kicked him out, and he had to go to his room. And we'd read something from our big book or a grapevine story. We went through the entire AA Comes of Age, which can be a little dry. But, all through it, Nancy's spirit came through that she was so grateful that we had this opportunity to share, and sometimes I'd have a problem. She's supposed to come to me with her problems, but she didn't have that many problems. She was very close to her higher power, and I'm so grateful and blessed to have known her. Thank you.
So I'm Irene, and for those of you that know Nancy, age was no barrier for her. So when she was 75, she decided she was moving to New Mexico. And we moved her, and we loaded her truck, and we did all that stuff, and she was going with Sharon. And it became later and later and later. And I said, you're going to leave town now driving this giant truck? And they went, and Len, my sweet husband, we both went, no. And so they pulled into our driveway. We pulled our twin bed out of the closet, set up a bed for Sharon, and they spent the night before they headed off in the morning. We were lucky enough to have the space, but I was lucky enough to know these courageous kind of, we're gonna go do this no matter how old we are people. And then when she came back from Mexico, she stayed with us for about a month, I think about a month. So she got to know not only my sweet husband well, but I got to know her in a different venue, in a different way, and it's such a privilege. So I'm 75 now. There's no way I'm moving to New Mexico or driving off in a truck at 10 o'clock at night. So as I approach the age as she was, I developed more and more appreciation for the courage she had and the barriers she didn't notice. So thanks.
Hi, I'm Megan, and I have to kind of piggyback off of Irene's story. When I was thinking about, I have so many cherished memories, but the one that came first to my mind was Nancy's courage and strength and fortitude and determination. And I didn't know this was going to happen. So when I'm struggling now to do something because I'm challenged with anxiety, and it's gotten worse as I've gotten older, I think of what would Nancy do? And Nancy would do just about anything. And so she moved to New Mexico and then ended up having to have open heart surgery there. And at some point, she didn't think New Mexico was warm enough. So she moved to Mexico. And this was, I don't know exactly when, but she lived in Puerto Morelos for about 15 months. And I had been planning a vacation to be with her, and it ended up retiring. And so in the winter of 2017 in January, I had 2 weeks with her in Mexico. And it just blew my mind again how brave she always was. And I know that she had fear and doubts and concerns because we talked about them, but it didn't stop her. And so, you know, she picked me up at the airport in a taxi from Cancun. It was about 30 minutes to Puerto Morelos, and that was on a Saturday. The next day we got up and went to a Mayan women's cooperative market. I mean, she wasn't tired, and we went off and did that. And we got to go spend a couple nights on a little island, so we went to Cancun and took a ferry across to this island called Isla de Mujeres. And there was an AA meeting there, and I don't know how we found that, but we looked it up, and then we went to a meeting that evening that was English-speaking. She also went to lots of meetings when she lived in Puerto Morelos, so I got to take her to a cardiology appointment when I was there. So I don't know, that's what came to me to share, is no matter what, she showed up, and I hope to do the same throughout the rest of my life that I have left to me. I even struggle coming here today. That's the way I am. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you so much for your remembrances. Nancy's son, Mark, and daughter, Sherry, curated these images of Nancy's life.
By breath, by blood, by body, by spirit, we are all one. By breath, by blood, by body, by spirit, we are all one. The air that is my breath is the air that you are breathing, and the air that is your breath is the air that I am breathing. The wind rising in my breast is the wind from the east, from the west, from the north, from the south, breathing in, breathing out. By breath, by blood, by body, by spirit, we are all one. By breath, by blood, by body, by spirit, we are all one. The water that is my blood, my sweat, tears from crying, is the water that is your blood. Your sweat, tears from crying, and the rising of the tide is in our veins, and in the ocean wide we are in the rising steam, rushing a river, running stream. By breath, by blood, by body, by spirit, we are all one. By breath, by blood, by body, by spirit, we are all one. The earth is dust, the earth is clay, flowers blossoming and fading. We are dust and we are clay, we are blossoming and fading. Every color, every sound, every place is holy ground. Oh, every living thing, can you hear it laugh? Can you hear it sing? By breath, by blood, by body, by spirit, we are all one. By breath, by blood, by body, by spirit, we are all one. The fire in my heart, my soul flame burning, is the fire in your heart, your soul flame burning. We are spirit burning bright by the light of day. In the dark of night we are shining like the sun and like the moon.
Nancy was inspired by the life and ministry of St. Francis of Assisi. And so we offer this prayer, adapted from the Peace Prayer of St. Francis. Spirit, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Holy One, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is dying in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
Let's sing together this lovely song by Libby Roderick, How Could Anyone? How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Nancy requested that we sing that song together, another part of her legacy. And so we close with gratitude for the life and love of Nancy Jean May. Though she has left this world, she leaves behind many stories and so much love. The loss of Nancy has left a hole in our lives and in our hearts, and we will miss her. Let us fill the hole with love, the fierce love that Nancy had for her family and friends, for Mother God, and for life itself. As we extinguish our chalice, may we know that we cannot extinguish the light of love that Nancy brought into this world, the love that she showed us and that she shared so generously with all that she met. May we see that light reflected in all that we do, knowing that Nancy's light shines through us too. For those who have joined us online, thank you so much for your presence today. For those who are on site, you were invited outside to the columbarium to commit Nancy's ashes. After that, we'll gather for refreshments and conversation and stories in the commons just outside these doors. And also, Nancy's family asks that you please look for the giveaway table, where you can find remembrances of Nancy to take home with you. Nancy, may you rest in peace, and may we go in peace.